Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers. So how do you know if a shoe is any good for a marathon? Well, the best way to do that, I find, is to go and run a marathon distance in it. So I have got the ASICS Metaspeed Sky Paris on my feet, and I'm about to go and do a solo marathon around the streets of London to find out if this is any good. Before that, I'll give you some quick details on what's new about this shoe, and then we'll take it on. Some really quick details then, starting with the stack. The Metaspeed Sky Paris has 39.5 mils in the heel, 34.5 mils in the forefoot for a 5 mil drop. It weighs in an impressively light 6.6 ounces or 187 grams in my UK men's 8.5 test shoe. That makes it the lightest super shoe on the shelves right now. Price wise, it will cost you £220 or $250 in the US. Let's give you a really quick shoe whip round then. With the ASICS Metaspeed Sky Paris has a new midsole featuring a big stack of Flight Foam Turbo plus Piba foam. There's a full-length flat carbon plate that sits higher in the midsole, and that's been widened in the forefoot region to improve the overall bounce from the foam during toe-off. Up top, you've got new Motion Wrap Upper 2.0, and apparently that's approximately 8% more breathable. Flip them over and there's the usual fairly thin and minimal strategic rubber outsole for grip and to protect in the high impact areas. There's not a huge amount of it here in the heels. That's one thing that we've seen from super shoes in the past. So I think the plan for this solo marathon is going to be to do 5 miles at easy pace as a warm up, and then I'm going to try and link together 10 miles at my target marathon pace for today, which should be around 6:50s, and then after that I'll probably do another 5 easy, and I might see for the last stretch of it what I've got to really sort of push that. I'm trying to sort of recreate sort of some long run speed and fatigue out there, and probably a little bit further than most people would normally run in marathon training, but I was just I'm a bit behind on my long runs, and I just wanted to use the 20 mile. I thought might as well use it to test these shoes properly. So yeah, anyway, we'll go and see how that goes. So then I'm coming up to 6 miles in, and the first thing to say about those first 6 miles easy in this shoe is this is a shoe you definitely have to run in. It took a while to get used to the platform. It's very wobbly, it's sort of very inconsistent to begin with. Doesn't feel entirely natural for those first miles when you're running at easy pace. It took a while, I think, for the foam to come alive, or that midsole to come alive, and for me to start feeling like I'm in control of the shoe and not the other way around. Now I'm moving and I'm kind of cruising along, and I've sort of dialed in, and it's almost like I understand the shoe a bit more. At that easy pace, it feels much better. It's felt much more happy to cruise along in. I'm getting much better landings any second now. I am going to be punching it up to marathon pace, so we'll see how we get on there. 16 miles done in just over 2 hours, 2 hours 10. I'm just taking a little walking break before I go and do the last 10, sort of slightly easier. That marathon pace segment actually was absolutely bang on. The shoes really came to life when I started to punch out those faster kind of marathon paces. I was going also slightly faster marathon pace at times. They cornered well and some twisty turny bits. I feel like the overall kind of hold on the foot is really good. There's no hot spots, no rubbing, everything feels nice and secure. But what I'm really excited about in these shoes is that kind of midsole ride is really quite lively. There's loads of that sort of springy cushion. There's also a stiffness, I think, to the base, which gives you a nice sort of spring forward, bit of propulsion in the shoes. They feel nice and light, they're nice and nimble. You do have to be concentrating on placing your feet kind of with precision. You're trying to get that energy back out, and you've got to run well in these shoes. You've got to be in good form to get the most out of them. But like them, when I was doing that worked a treat, and there's no harshness at the moment coming back up. So really interesting. I wasn't sure when I did my earlier test for this, the shorter, faster runs, whether or not it might be a little bit, you know, not protective enough over the long distance. But so far, foot fatigue wise, they've been great. We'll find out. This is sort of where it really sort of kicks in though in the next 10 miles, when everything gets a bit more tired and you start to drag a bit. That's when you really sort of get a sense of a shoe and whether or not it's going to be good for you in those last miles of a marathon. So yeah, we've got about 10 miles to go, probably about another hour and a half running at the pace I'm going to move. I better go and get on with it. Marathon is done in the ASICS Metaspeed Sky Paris. I did it in about 3 hours 35. Good chunk of marathon pace in there. Steady to begin with, like first 6 miles, 10 miles marathon pace, and then the rest of it just kind of what I could manage. Picked up the pace at the end there as well to see how they felt with tired legs and what they would give me if I needed to go a fast last mile in the marathon. And overall, here's what I think. These are good marathon shoes. Initially, when you're going slow at an easier pace, there's not stability and protection there. I find them a little bit wobbly. I don't think that they'll necessarily help if your form is a bit ragged. They are good when you are dialed in, running really well with good form and punching out concentrated, steady marathon pace miles. You know, just ticking over, they respond really well. When you're landing, you know, you'll make good ground connection, getting that punch off, but you're putting something into the floor. The cushioning is plenty, there's lots of spring in them. I think there's a really good energy in them from the kind of overall stiffness of that midsole, and they clip along really well. They aren't really the most stable when you rock back, and when you're running a bit ragged, there was a couple of times actually my ankles sort of rolled a little bit where I wasn't really paying attention in those last miles to where my footsteps were going on uneven pavements and whatnot. So you have to still be focused, I think, with these shoes. They corner well though. Overall, the comfort on the feet is good. The foot fatigue, well protected right to the end. Even those last miles, I felt pretty heavy legged. And these shoes, there was nothing coming up from the road to worry about, you know, particularly on the balls of the feet, where sometimes in carbon shoes or some shoes, you know, you just feel a bit of that road coming through, or yeah, you just feel the feet tiring a bit. There's nothing from that here. There's good protection from that sort of cushioning perspective. There's not good protection overall when you're talking about, you know, maybe looking after you from a stability point of view and not kind of, you know, having those kind of hips wobbling and all those kind of things. But I think if you are able to race a marathon in this shoe and you know you're going to be able to hold your form and dial it in for 26 miles, I think these shoes are going to do a really good job. They've been really ace out there today, actually. I've really enjoyed running in them. They feel nice and light, they're light and nimble, they're really agile. There's plenty of pop to them. That marathon test has really only sort of confirmed what I found when I did the speed session in these shoes, and that is that I really enjoyed running in them. I think ASICS have made a very good shoe here. So back at the office, recovered from the marathon. I wanted to give you a really quick sum up verdict now that that is over. That solo marathon test has been done. What can I say about the ASICS Metaspeed Sky Paris? Well, I think this is a cracking shoe. The new midsole foam has great spring to it. There's a nice stiffness to the ride. I think that really adds to that kind of feeling of propulsion. That's what I really want in my carbon shoes. They're incredibly light. They're really nice and agile, very precise. You get exactly the kind of punch you want from a carbon race shoe. They feel lively and they make you feel like you want to go out and race. I think there's a real smidge of the Vaporfly 2 about these shoes. I love the Vaporfly 2. There's something more compact and more direct compared to those bigger carbon shoes that we've seen recently, like the Alphafly, the New Balance SE Elite V4, the Endorphin Pros. Now, they do take some running in. You have to learn the shoe a little bit, I find, in those early miles. And they're 100% better when you're moving well with good locked-in form. And that leads me to offer one word of caution overall on these for the marathon in particular. They're not very stable shoes. And I think you have to be running with good focused form to get the most out of them. They're also not going to be your best friend at mile 22 if your form has gone to the dogs. They're not really that forgiving and accommodating. But if you're well trained, if you're confident you can move light and fast on your feet for the full 26.2, I think ASICS has made a very compelling marathon shoe here. It might be better over the half marathon distance for some runners, but I'm certainly weighing it up as a potential shoe that I use to run the Manchester Marathon in approximately 3 weeks, I think it is. So there you have it. That was my 26.2 mile solo marathon test of the ASICS Metaspeed Sky Paris. I hope you found it useful. If you've run in the Paris, please let us know how you've been getting along with them. Would you choose it as your marathon shoe? If not, what else are you likely to be lacing up if you're doing a spring marathon? very soon. And as ever, don't forget to hit like. If you like the video, subscribe. If you can share this with other runners, that really helps too. If you're interested in marathon shoes, I did a solo test of the Brooks Hyperion Elite 4. I'm going to pop that video up on the channel about now. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching the Run Testers, and we hope to see you again soon. Happy running, people.